So let's talk about fear, right? Let's talk about fear. I'm hot. So let's talk about fear. So fear has the ability to keep you stuck. Fear has the power to stop you from going after your dreams. Fear has the ability to stop you from speaking and standing up what is morally correct. Fear has the ability to keep you small. Fear has the ability to make you take irrational and unhealthy decisions, right? So just to explain a little bit, I come from a fear-based, anxious family. Growing up, I heard a lot of things such as, what are people going to say about you? You can't do this. What if something bad happens? They're raping outside. They're killing in this corner. Basically, my family adapted fear as a coping mechanism and a coping strategies due to the way they were growing up. I come from a family that was extremely poor, and so they encounter a lot of obstacles. And when you grow up in an environment that is not allowing you to take risk, or an environment where you have to continuously hunt for your survival, or having to not having a lot of resources, right? And that can definitely keep your mind stuck in a way that does not allow you to see that there's far more beyond your imagination, because you're only worried about what you can see and you haven't gone out there to explore. So I grew up infantilized, and it hindered me in a lot of negative, unhealthy ways. And so it took me a lot of years for me to become the woman that you see on the screen right now. So I'm going to tell you how that was possible. So as a child, I was scapegoated. I'm the black sheep of my family. And so I used to speak out whenever I saw something was wrong, whenever I felt something. And so what happened was that eventually, whenever I would bring up certain uncomfortable situations to the surface, right, they would tell me to keep quiet, that I was being rude and disrespectful and things of that nature, right? Because when you bring up certain things, then the other person has to look at themselves and sit down and hold the mirror and realize that their behavior is not the best. And so then they had to face the fact that they might need to change, right? And a lot of people fear that, because having to change who you are is not an easy process, and most people do not want to admit their own dysfunctions, right? So then also take fear in this manner. Fear can be used as a way to control somebody, whether the person is consciously doing what they're doing to control you. What I mean is, whether the person is conscious that they're using fear as a way to control you is another topic, right? Because in my case, I believe in some weird shape or form that my family believed that they were protecting me from unseen danger, right? So, okay, so with fear, what happens is that your brain gets hijacked. So let's say you encounter a snake, you either flee the scene for safety, to actually protect yourself, and actually having that fear can save your life, because then you're able to run. But then fear can also take you the way of I'm so fearful, I can't move, so I'm stuck. There's a snake that's poisonous. It bites you, then you are now facing the possibility of death, right? So that's how fear works. And then fear also works in the way of you have two siblings. One is considered good, the other one is considered bad. So the bad one gets yelled at, they get mistreated a lot. So the good one, that's the one that's deemed good in the family, is seeing that happening. And so they do not stand up for what is morally correct, because this child fears that if they stand up and speak up, that they might have to face the same consequences or punishment as the bad child. So take this out in an unhealthy working environment also, right? You don't say the truth, because if you do, then you're deviating from the norm, you're deviating from the group. This happened to me in the shelter. I worked in a homeless shelter. Eventually, I had the courage after becoming a supervisor to speak up and say in the meetings, this job is unhealthy, this is not being run properly, we all need to change in order for this job to be healthier, so we can have a better relationship with ourselves, and so that we're able to provide better service for the people that we're supposed to be servicing. And so I faced a lot of opposition, but I was already used to opposition growing up in my family, being the black sheep, right? So finding courage, right? Because fear is the lack of courage, and courage is the absence of fear, right? And so finding that, you have to be uncomfortable. You have to get uncomfortable. You have to be put in certain situations that allows you to feel the fear, but still do it anyways, right? Because you're doing what is morally correct, and you're walking in your integrity, right? You can lie to the world. I have said lies. We all have lied, right? But then when you go to sleep at night and you are with your own self, by yourself, then you can't lie to yourself. You can lie to the world, but you can't lie to yourself, right? If you have a conscience, right? And another thing also, if you fear standing up against an unhealthy, toxic individual, right? And you see them doing immoral things and you don't say something, then you are also an enabler, right? Because the system and toxic environments, they thrive out of secrecy and people enabling such individual, right? So if you are kicking with someone that's extremely toxic, that's damaging, that has done very nasty things to other people, then you are an enabler, and you need to work on to what made you an enabler, right? So yeah, so when you're fearful, there's parts of your brain that gets hijacked, like I said, so it makes you do irrational decisions. It makes you do decisions that are basically sabotaging. And then you feel fear, you can feel it in your throat, it can stop you from speaking, can literally close up your throat. You feel it in your heart, it can increase your heart rate due to anxiety. You can feel it in your stomach when you get that punching gut feeling in your stomach. So like I said, fear has the ability to stop you from doing what is morally correct. So I hope this video helps for something, because we all need to study our emotions, and we need to study the brain and see how that affects our daily life. So I was able to overcome fear because, like I said, I was put in a situation where I was left no choice. Like, for example, when the teacher called out on me, I used to be scared of that. I had social anxiety. I had fear of leaving my home. Even interacting with like the store clerk used to like bring me high levels of anxiety. I couldn't even look at myself in the mirror. So having to be putting in jobs and having to be called out by teachers, and then going to college and having to do presentations, I was also scared of speaking out, like public speaking, because I used to fear like judgment, criticism, fear of making a mistake, fear of failure. And like I said, fear stops you from living your maximum potential. Fear stops you from like taking risk, and taking risk comes with a level of freedom. And the more freedom you have, the more empowered you become, right? And so the more empowered you become, the less susceptible you are to someone else controlling your life. And you no longer have to be dependent on somebody, because when someone instills fear in you, it's because they want to control you. And with control comes a sense of dependency instead of being independent, right? So this is why fear is used as a weapon against yourself, against other people. And like I said, you can apply this to any area of your life and look at it from the spectrum of the whole world, and see how fear has been used for centuries to keep the masses in line and stop them from venturing out and doing what the powers that be don't want them to do, which is to empower themselves and stand up for what is morally correct. So hope this helps. Bye.